Welcome back to U.S. Farm Report this weekend. Well, Tommy, we just had boots in the field looking at the wheat crop in the Plains area, Kansas specifically, really looking at poor crop conditions. As you look across the country, though, some farmers frustrated that we haven't seen wheat prices really react to some of those crop conditions. Why do you think that is?
Well, we grow wheat everywhere, and people know this. And there's no new news out there. When I was at Commodity Classic with you and others, we had so many farmers come up the advanced trading booth and say, "Oh, it's really horrible where we are. And once you guys in Chicago figure that out, we're going to rally." Or there is no Chicago. There is no the money controlling these markets isn't in Chicago. It's all over the world, and money's flowing in and out of commodities. And right now, the funds just have to pedal down on the border trade wheat crop, on the border trade wheat contract, and the spread between border trade and KC, that is proving that the KC wheat crop is in trouble. There's a reason that's almost $2 higher than the board. Just to think that in the next few days, hours, or months, as you watch this show, that border trade wheat's getting ready to trade under corn. I don't know if it will. If it does, it'll create a lot of pain for people who are spreading long wheat, short corn. So wheat is never an easy item to trade. Of all the things I trade at the border trade in the pits, I tried to stay out of the wheat pits. Those guys made money. When they make money, they make big money and it trends. When they lose money, they lose big money. Not only as a wheat trader, but as a wheat farmer. And the best time to sell wheat, this year's wheat, was last year. Nobody wanted to do that because all the spreads were inverted. So if wheat was $14 and you could have sold $12 or $11 wheat, is now the time to panic. The opportunities were there, and as people let them go by, look at 23 wheat, 24 wheat, 25 wheat. The market outlook over the long term does not look good for any of the commodity markets. Best prices are right now, and they continually get worse as we look down the curve time.
Well, Kristi, we did have that USDA WASD report. When you look at grain stocks, there weren't a lot of, there weren't any really big surprises. But Kristi, anything out of there that you can pull out that may change the trajectory of the prices that we're seeing right now?
Yeah, when you look at stocks report, I think the number one thing to see is just the sheer amount of wheat being held by farmers right now. And I think that is where we got into this predicament, is that everyone was so bullish wheat and wanted to be part of it and looked at the news and saw everything with Russia and Ukraine, saw the poor conditions, saw how late it was planted. And everyone got really, really bullish, and that caused them not to sell and not to sell this last year or any deferred contracts. And then now we're sitting on all this wheat. We have way more winter wheat planted than we know what to do with. And we know it's in poor conditions, but the problem is we're still dealing with the fact that in January we got way more wheat acres planted in winter wheat. And we sat there and said we have 30% more wheat on hand for a farmer to sell yet to finish this year off. And we know that some producers will carry wheat for multiple years, but you still realize that there's a lot that has to go through the pipeline yet before we get to this next crop report or this next crop year. And then you're also looking at the fact that, you know what, these prices aren't great, but basis levels aren't that all that fantastic when you look at spring wheat right now. They're very soft unless you can get to a mill. And that's just proving to, yeah, we can have a production problem, but if the demand's not there, there's nothing you're going to do about it.
Tommy, we've been talking about the possibility of a recession for more than a year. Fed notes this week indicated that the banking crisis could lead to a recession, and the Fed acknowledging that. Has that spooked any of the markets?
Yeah, it's really hard to say the word recession with unemployment that has a three in front of it. It's really hard to say recession where every fast food restaurant or any restaurant has help wanted signs. And so there's no last time it did this. There's never been a pandemic with Russia invading Ukraine, with the United States government giving away $4 trillion pretty much to anybody who had a heartbeat. To hey, the deal's this time. The Fed started the fire. They gave everyone the money, and the quote I heard today was the arsonist started the fire, and they now showed up to try to put it out. And it may not end well. We're going through a paradigm shift in interest rates, and you have to have some gray hair just to understand this stuff. It's been a long time since I traded interest rates at this level and that they were this volatile time.
Kristi, cattle markets, that's one that we know typically, can react to recessionary fears. But you look at the supply situation today, the cash market leading us to record prices in cattle. Those fundamentals, though, they're not going to change. So what is your outlook when it comes to these cattle prices?
Yeah, you're exactly right. The fundamentals behind cattle are extremely, extremely friendly. And so that's kind of this backbone of saying fundamentals are friendly. We know inventory is down. We know cash prices continuing to be extremely strong, especially in the north. But you kind of look at it and you say, hey, there are those concerns about domestic demand for these products moving forward. The recession talks, the talk of, dwindling money supply in the US. But we've got to look at it in multiple ways, and it's going to be this tug where it's fundamentals against technicals. And right now, fundamentals are winning, but we hit rare fourth price counts here for live cattle. We're at the third price counts for feeder cattle, and it's really hard for a market to accelerate past that fourth price count. It's not saying it cannot do that, but it needs to take a little bit more behind it to be able to do that.
Kristi, Tommy, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate it. We need to take a quick break, and then we'll have much more right here on U.S. Farm Report.